Yo, have you heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome everyone to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today we have the My Hero enthusiast, Andrea, with us today. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I am doing good, thank you. And today we are going to be previewing My Hero Academia Season 5, which comes out this month, March 27th. So me and Andrea, along with millions of My Hero fans, are super excited for that premiere in 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
So what we're going to be doing for you guys today, we're just going to do a quick recap of Season 4. Where do we leave off in Season 4? What are our expectations in Season 5? And then we're going to talk about what characters need to shine the most in Season 5 and what we want to see in Season 5. So, Andrew, Season 4, which was crazy.
Right.
Probably my favorite overall season from start to finish. The action, the music, all of that. So, where did we leave off at the end of Season 4?
At the end of Season 4, we left off with the kind of major fight between Endeavor and the Enhanced Nomu.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest things about Season 4 was the overhaul Rescue Aerie arc in the beginning half of the season. But with Season 4 kind of ending off with Endeavor and that Nomu fight, it kind of, for me, sets up the expectation that the League of Villains is going to be more prominent, essentially, in Season 5. Maybe that's my prediction. Again, I'm not a manga reader, so I don't know the order of the arc and things like that. It's just based off of kind of what I feel like that leads up to, on top of what we saw in the movie, that is canon, the second movie, of Rise of Heroes. Heroes Rising. Heroes Rising. So, yeah, I really feel like the League of Villains is going to come back at some point during Season 5 if they're not kind of primarily the main antagonist or goal in the season.
Yeah, and you talked about Endeavor and versus the Nomu, and this was just right after, officially, after all of his years, Endeavor was now ranked the number one hero, and Hawks, who I know you're a fan of, went up from 3 to 2. So those two were teaming up in that fight, and you talked about in the movie, I believe they had a little team up as well, because he wanted to be Endeavor's wings or whatever, sight, whatever, because there's no more All Might. So they need to be working as more of a cohesive unit than just one guy defending the world. And then also, that was the last fight of Season 4, but we also get left with Midoriya having a dream, and then he is with all the One for All users, and then the first one talks to him and says, "You're the 9th," and then season over. So we got a lot in like Season 4. You talked about the overhaul. That was the biggest thing before Endeavor saying the great fights with Midoriya-verse overhaul, a million-verse overhaul. It was just a great season, but with that season being done and the cliffhangers, what are your expectations for Season 5?
So like you mentioned about that dream at the end that Midoriya has with the previous One for All holders, I do expect potentially more of those kind of secrets to be revealed in Season 5. I'm hoping that's not something that's going to be pushed off for later seasons, because I mean it does raise a lot of questions immediately at the end that we want answers to. Part of that dream was we only see Midoriya physically in bits and pieces, and so I kind of wonder if that means it's because it's One for All is not fully realized with him yet, that he's only showing up partially, or is there something else going on that maybe with the ninth, whatever, 10th, 11th reiterations, it's going to get weaker as time goes on. I don't believe that's true. I'm hoping that's not true. But it's just one of those things where it's a question that we want answered, and I'm hoping we'll get some of that in 5.
Yeah, and the first One for All user instantly is like, oh, so you're the 9th one. So it's like, we're going to have to wait and see. We'll see if that's how it starts. We don't know how it's going to start with that, but it's super, super exciting. I think my expectations for season 5 is they're through the roof, because the way season 4 was. Season 3 was okay. I think it peaked too early with the United States of Smash, and you had the Deku versus Bakugo fight, and then that one ended with Lemillion just one-shotting all of Class 1A. So seeing 2 arcs worth just to get smoked by one guy. So, and it was teetering, and then season 4 brought it back. So I'm expecting big things from season 5. I guess I'll know how good it'll be starting with the opening, because typically the better the openings and closings, the better the seasons. So I have huge expectations, and My Hero Academia is one of the biggest anime in the world right now for the new generation and the older generation that was coming off like the Naruto and all of that, and they found this one. So I'm expecting big things from it. What do you want to see more of in season 5? Do you want to see more fights? Do you want to see more character development? What do you want to see?
Both. Can I have it all? So,
yeah.
I definitely want to see more growth within using their quirk, developing their, personal growth that they have had that we haven't been able to necessarily see throughout the previous seasons, for the side characters that kind of started to get pushed to the wayside to better explore Midoriya, Bakugo, Shoto Todoroki a little bit. He kind of has fallen off recently. But I do want to see more of that. I also really want to see Class 1B, because as they state, it's kind of assumed that 1B is more like the sidekick. However, when we saw them in the sports festival, Class 1A, the heroes, quote unquote, struggled against some of them and their quirks. So it was like, I want to see more of them and the quirks that they have and how they've been developing them, because, I mean, there's just so many heroes outside of Deku and Bakugo out there, especially at this one school, and there are other schools on top of that. So, I mean, I don't want to get away from the main story of, this is the story of how Deku becomes the greatest hero, but being able to see the allies he can potentially utilize in the future would be amazing as well.
So just going right into that, like with with who you think the characters who need to shine more in season 5, because when you saw in season 4, out of Class 1A, obviously Deku, because he's the main character, but the person who ascended out of nowhere was Red Rocket. He was prominent in season 4. He was instrumental in the raid 2, and he's always been like a good side character, but he shot up through the roof in season 4. And there was a lot of other people. You weren't Deku, Red Rocket, the big 3. All the other students were really pushed to the wayside. So who do you think needs a big season 5 and why?
As a personal kind of favorite, well, 2 of them would be Shoto Todoroki and Momo. Because I do love them as characters. I love their quirk. It's also kind of one of those things where Shoto's kind of assumed to be part of the big 3. However, even in the movie, and I'm sorry to keep referencing the movie.
Movie is canon, so.
He, again, gets kind of pushed to the side between Deku and Bakugo. So it's like, if he's going to be part of the big 3, where is he? And again, part of that is sentimentality. But on top of that, I really want to see those, Class 1B characters that we really haven't seen since the sports festival arc. I want to see what happens with Shinsho. He has the quirk where if you respond to a question he asks, he can now control your mind. So what's happened with him? Like, it was kind of realized during the sports festival that he has the potential to be in Class 1A, but we haven't essentially really seen him since then.
No.
I do want to see more from Kaminari, because I feel like he could do more.
Mhm.
And I think he sets the bar low for himself so he doesn't feel disappointed. Which again could be a character development point for him, and maybe that's a wrong interpretation of the character, but still, we don't see enough of him to know. I also really, although I don't like him, want to see more of Monoma with his copy quirk. Being able to see if he's going to utilize more than one quirk. To what extent can he do that? Is he going to kind of keep people around him to utilize his teammates' quirk and develop kind of a style with a set core of like maybe one or two quirks that he can always go off of?
So I agree with Class 1B, and I think they're going to be featured because on the promotional picture for Season 5, it has Class 1A versus Class 1B. So they might be starting off with a training thing. So maybe they'll obviously be featured there, but we don't know how long they'll be featured. So I do have a couple names down as I'm looking. Number one was Shoto Todoroki for the same reasons as you. And also because in Season 4, his two biggest moments, well, maybe three, was one when Deku was crying at the lunch table and like him being like supportive.
Yeah.
So that was one. The other one was when they were doing the provisional, like the remedial classes to get their license. He had a little thing there, but that got overshadowed by Bakugo.
Right.
And then the third one was him showing emotion watching his dad on the TV at the end. And then like his classmates consoling him because his dad looked like he was about to die his first day as number one hero. But that's still too small for someone like Shoto. I don't think he's in the similar situation as Ida, but those two had their real peaks in Season 2 with the Sports Festival Stain arc, where Deku opened up Todoroki for him using his flames, and then obviously Ida, Todoroki, and Deku had one of the great fights against Stain. So I don't want him to be getting pushed to the wayside. And he said it himself that the gap is widening between him and Bakugo and like the people who are in the raid, especially Deku, because it just keeps getting wider and wider and they need to catch up. So, and he's too good. He's too good a character to be pushed to the wayside. But like you said in the movie, he's been getting pushed back. I know in the second movie he was on the cover saying that like the big three, the Three Musketeers, but third movie. But we don't know what's going to happen in that movie. And if anime's taught us anything, Shoto will be the one who does the sacrificial play for Deku and Bakugo to finish the job. That's just what the third wheel person does. And now you can almost make the case that, I know at the beginning it was Ida and Uraka who were Deku's best friends, but you can almost make the case that Shoto is almost slid into that best friend spot to Midoriya. The other one, same one as you, Momo, I think is someone with her quirk and her brain and her like everything. She should be probably more featured. Her biggest moment to me is when Shoto was helping her gain confidence when they were doing the test against Eraserhead, and she also had something in the provisional licensing thing. But I was shocked that she did not get into a work study like group.
Me too.
That was a big shocker to me. I thought that she would definitely be in there, but she was not, which we had the same two there. Another person who might be shocked that I have this is Uraka. She was in the raid too. She did her thing, but it wasn't like a big contribution. But she has been pegged the female lead of this show. And she hasn't had a big one-on-one fight since Bakugo, really. And that was when everyone's like, oh my gosh, this girl's great. Like, this is her crowning moment. She needs to have a big season 5 as well as the lead girl. Because, obviously Deku's just going further and further ahead, and she's been in the back, and we had the thing about her not wanting to confess her love. And
I was going to say, that's another big storyline that might get touched on in Season 5, but I think essentially what would happen in Season 5 is she makes that resolve to be like, no, I'm going to hold this in until we accomplish what we need to do, and then I'll be willing to to confess those feelings. But I agree. I'm just not as big of a fan as Uraraka as Momo.
Mm-hmm.
It's a personal bias that I have that I wish Momo was
Female
character in the,
which, I mean,
show.
Maybe it changes, but right now Uraraka was put in that spot since day one. But it can change. But both of them need to be more featured. It's crazy I'm saying Uraraka because she was in season 4, but she wasn't like fighting. And then obviously the other members of Class 1A, but those were the 3 biggest because we talked on previous podcasts how My Hero is one of those animes where everyone was involved at the beginning, small part or not. But since we got to, I would say, probably season 3, after United States of Smash and Deku and Bakugo had their fight, it's really been pushing them. And then you had the big 3, which was prominent in season 4, and they'll still be prominent when they're pro heroes. But I think they need a big season 5. And then one person who, since he's the new number 1, Endeavor, I mean, it ended on his fight. As much as we do not like him here, but he is the number 1 hero now, and he needs to really show that he could be the number 1 hero. We saw the stats, crimes up on the news stations. They were like, there's no symbol. When Endeavor was getting his butt kicked by the Nomu, they're like, is this what happens when we have no symbol? And it's just like, if you're struggling against a Nomu like this, what's going to happen if All for One breaks out or someone stronger comes out? Like, what are we going to do? So he needs to really, in his own crazy way, unite the heroes and get that done. And obviously we want to see some of the other top 10 heroes, but Endeavor is number 1, so we're gonna have to really see what he does. And we don't know who the villain is, but whoever it is, we're hoping they're as good or better as Overhaul. Because
Overhaul was amazing as a villain. He was amazing.
Like him, Stain were probably the 2 best, and obviously All for One. So those are the people I think need big season 5s, because I honestly feel, especially Shoto and Momo, Uraraka is always going to be prominent because sooner or later she'll have the I Love You episode. But Shoto and Momo, if they don't have a big season 5, they might be relegated to like Krillin roles. It might be it for both of them. And I almost thought about saying Bakugo, but Bakugo's the rival, so he'll be fine too. So if you're the rival, main love interest, you're set. But the other people like Shoto, who is a rival to, I guess, the Midoriya, but / like real good friend now, he's gotta step up. They're almost teetering into that Naruto thing where Naruto and Sasuke, everything was close at the beginning, then the story's just all about them. They're so far ahead, and then you have like Neji and all of them in the wayside, and then Sakura, who isn't doing anything, but she is a love interest to a main character, and that's what Uraraka is gonna be. So, those were my big ones. Did you have anyone else?
I said this earlier, and I know it's not going to happen, but I really miss Best Jeanist. Like, I miss him. I want him to come back. I thought he was an interesting character. His quirk was really cool. I don't think he's... But, I mean, the other people one of the people that I feel like got a moment in season 4 that really was not present in season 4 in the current timeline was Mina. The chick with acid.
We were just talking about that.
Her shining moment so far in the show completely, because even in season 1 she was kind of like more shown for her personality. We saw what her quirk was, but we didn't really get to see her use it to its fullest extent. Or I believe it might be too. But she had a moment in Hiroshima's flashbacks from when they were in middle school. But we haven't seen her do anything in the current timeline in high school, and I just feel like that's a waste. Also, in like general anime stereotypes, she's one of the characters you would think is the main character because she's so over the top, bubbly. Plus, her character design is very flashy. So it just kind of seems, where is she? She's got this moment. What are we gonna do with it? I want there to be moment more than one for her in 5.
Also, you brought up her. I felt like they wrote off Ida. Like, he's done. Like,
I'm kind of okay with it, because since what happened with staying with the whole revenge bloodlust thing for me, it just kind of flipped the switch that I'm like, okay.
But, it was for his brother, though. And it led to one of the great fights.
Right, but, like, I don't know. I struggled with liking Ida in general, because he just seemed, like, overly strict.
You always gotta have one. Always gotta have one in anime.
That it was like, okay, I don't know if I'd actually like this person in real life. And then he had the whole revenge twist, and it's like, you're trying to be a hero, though. You're like going back to your reasoning why you want to be a hero, but then when something bad happens, very unfortunate, something bad happens to you, even though you're trying to be a hero, you're essentially acting like a villain.
Mm-hmm. He did have that in season 4 with Todoroki. He recited the words that Midoriya said to him in season 2, which got Midoriya to start crying and all that. But yeah, that was a good one. And I just thought of this one too. We know what Class 1A can do, the freshmen. We know what the big 3 can do. Where's the second year group? Like, who are they?
That's a good point. Honestly, I hadn't thought about it. And I mean, I wonder if they'll be part of the training, or if they're going to have their own training, or if we'll see. I'm honestly hoping, like, again, I don't read the manga, so I don't know how the arcs are going to go. But I kind of hope that we get a second sports festival, because I want to see everybody again. And maybe we can see, like, well, at that point, it might be, they'd be the third year, so the big 3 that we have now are different.
No.
But I mean, that's a good point. We haven't seen any of them. We also barely get to see the other classes, because UA does have business classes.
Yep.
And other than I'm forgetting her name, Hatsume. Other than her, we don't really see anybody in the I'm forgetting the name of what it's called, but the like tech track where they're making hero gear.
Hatsume was more relevant in season 4 than Shoto and Momo. She's the one who made the gauntlets for Midoriya to do his flick thing.
Right.
Which is now a prominent thing, as we saw in the movie, that he can do multiple flicks and save his body, which is, never thought I'd say the day that Hatsume was more prevalent than Momo and Shoto.
I mean, especially Shoto. Momo, I could see. Shoto, disappointing. But
no, it's a lot, and we have 2 weeks, and we are super, super excited about My Hero Season 5 starting. We don't know if it's going to be weekly or monthly. We're hoping it's weekly, that once we find out, we're going to try and figure out how we're going to be reviewing episodes, if we're going to do one at a time, or do like a quarter at a time. Obviously, when we get major fights, you'll hear from us immediately.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, that is our My Hero Academia Season 5 preview. Also, Andrea, it is Women's History Month, obviously, and I know you joined on, so we're very grateful to have you. So
thank you.
I am actually going to let you close it up and give your shout outs and all that.
I mean, I guess I would just want to have a shout out for all the women who create manga, anime, the authors that created the iconic female anime manga characters, and just the women in general who appreciate anime manga, enjoy it, even just casually, because it's something that, we can tie us all together as women, as shared experience, as well as just experiencing storylines in life through, fictional entertainment, and it brings us all together. And I feel like having more representation in anime and manga is really important. If I remember correctly, the creator of Demon Slayer is a female.
Which we're getting news about this week as well.
Are we?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
About that movie, I believe.
Oh, yes. We're going to get it in a couple days when the first, Demon Slayer movie is coming to the U.S. So.
Which we'll probably have to see. So.
Oh, definitely. For sure. I've been waiting months. We all have been waiting months to see it. But yeah, I think, I don't know what else really to say about women. We just, go through life the way that we do, and we hope, and we want to fight for equality for all, want equal pay for equal work. Just, we just want to enjoy life to the fullest as well as every other human. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I was not prepared for that question.
But you did great.
Thank you.
And yeah, no one was. It was always on the fly with all of them, so don't worry about it. But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Thank you, Andrea, for being on. Remember, My Hero Academia starts in 2 weeks, March 27th. That is Saturday. Don't know what time it's going to be on, but if you have Crunchyroll Premium, Funimation, all of that, be on the lookout. But thank you guys, and we'll be back.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.